Hello, welcome to the Mailbag. I've decided to drop the monthly part because I'm not doing it monthly anymore, I guess. I don't promise when I'll do it, I'll just do it whenever I feel like it from now on. But yeah, I'm gonna start naming these based on the month they come out, rather than the month the questions were asked, or the month before, because, I don't know, that naming convention is a little confusing. So yeah. It's election time, and America's on fire, metaphorically. It's been on fire, literally, for the past many months, but now the fire is now turned to metaphor and voting ballots and counting. I'm recording this on the 3rd of November, and it is hectic and crazy, man. It's... help. No need to go into that. Everyone already knows what's going on. The footage in the background you're going to be seeing is the first bits of the process of me, the making of the Halloween special animation video. It's not the whole thing, because I didn't record the whole thing. I guess I just forgot to. But yeah, you get to see some of the process of that, how I made parts of that video. Always remember, if you would like your question answered, leave it in the comment section below, and I may get to it in the next episode. Anyway, let's get into the questions. Hi Joe, I don't remember you answering this question, so here we go. How is the transition from learning graphic design into the workforce of the design industry? Were there any growing pains or noteworthy things that surpassed or didn't meet your expectations? The funny thing about that is I've never really had a proper graphic design job. Like I never worked under anyone. I've done like practice clients as part of school projects, but as far as like working under a firm or being commissioned by an actual client, no, I've never really done any of that, so I don't know that I can really give my experience. As, you know, I was in kind of my senior year of college is when this YouTube stuff started to take off, so right as I graduated, I just instantly just popped out with a job, which I'm very grateful for and feel very lucky to be able to do. Sorry if that's an unsatisfactory answer, but it's my experience. I've never been in the industry, I guess. For all the people procrastinating while watching this right now, including me probably, can you yell at us to get some work done? I'll do you one better. Pick one of my longer videos, turn it on, listen, and do work while you're listening to it. That's what I do anyway. I like to turn on some long YouTube videos and just listen to them while I work. Hey, hell, you could start it with this video. Start working while you're listening to my delicious voice. Do you know the old sea shanty, "What do you do with a drunken sailor?" It poses an interesting question. What do you do if you somehow encountered a drunken sailor? I've got a couple of answers to this. If we're talking about, you know, a drunken sailor in the not literal sense, like, oh, if I've just got a buddy who's just having a time and is just drunk on his off time, then who cares, you know? But if they've got a job to do and they're drunk on the job, I guess the answer is in the lyrics. Throw him in the brig until he's sober. We can't have you working under the influence, bud. I don't care how efficient you claim to be. Hey, JoCat, who would you say are some of your role models? Oh, well, a lot of YouTubers, because I've watched a lot of YouTubers. I mentioned before in a few mailbags past that Total Biscuit is a big inspiration to me as far as regular discussion in a reasonable manner goes, as well as you know, presentation of my content. You know, he had a high production value for all this stuff. But the former, what I mean by that is he has a very diplomatic way of giving arguments and counter arguments in ways that very much express ideas rather than, you know, person. Whenever he attacks an opinion, he's attacking the opinion and not the person. Whenever he presents an opinion, he always presents it as an opinion and not his, you know, personal feelings. Well, I mean, most of the time, I guess he tried to. Obviously, we are illogical beings by nature, and sometimes humans just tend to have emotion when it comes to what they're talking about. Even things that ultimately are not that big of a deal, like video games. But other content creators do come to mind as well. Red and Blue from Overly Sarcastic. I just kind of like the nature of their content and how they talk and speak and discuss stuff. Even though he's way too modest to ever accept this kind of compliment, Dan Floyd I very much look up to as a person. You know, as a reasonable amount. Like, he's not my guiding book on how to live my life, but a lot of times whenever I find myself in a bind emotionally or questioning things, you know, like, oh, is this the right thing to do or whatever, I would think, okay, well, how would Dan handle this situation. And I feel like that's kept me maybe not sane, but tactful and professional in how I act online and how I do things and present myself online, because I think a younger, less experienced me who maybe has not been influenced by Dan, his online persona, I think I would have been more unhinged. Maybe that's a strong word, but I still kind of slip up sometimes where I'll get a little bit too expressive with my social media presence. Yeah, it's things that you should probably find a better outlet to express, maybe find a therapist or something. And obviously, of course, my parents I look up to and all that stuff. It's just... Do you have a go-to movie that you love to show people? It doesn't have to be your favorite, but it's one you'll recommend a lot. Just basically a lot of animated movies. Spider-Verse, I always recommend Spider-Verse. Road to El Dorado, that's a fun one. Pretty much almost all of DreamWorks 2D stuff is always a great time. And easy to digest. They're not too heavy. They're not like the most amazing films, except for, of course, Prince of Egypt, which is probably still, in my opinion, their best work. They're not masterpieces and they're really easy to digest. They're low investment, If you could make a crap guide to anything you would want, what would it be? If I had unlimited time and inspiration and creativity and motivation, just all of my hobbies, I guess. It's not gonna happen because, I've mentioned before, and this might come as a surprise to some people, but the crap guides are coming to an end. Maybe indefinitely, just like shelving it until I ever feel like coming back to it, but don't expect more. It's not the end forever, but I'm not making any promises to make any additional ones. But as far as if I could just crank them out easy without any worry of it negatively affecting my creative process or my person, I would love to do a crap guide to Halo. I don't know how I would structure that. Maybe I would just do like precision weapons and then automatic weapons and power weapons, or maybe I would do a crap guide to Halo like totally ripping off the Killian experience and just like making a crappy summary of the story and stuff. Crap Guide to Destiny was one that was kind of in pre-production for a while, but then I scrapped it. I mean, it is nice and digestible, only 3 classes that I have to worry about. Final Fantasy XIV is one that I always keep going back and forth on, but no, that's too many classes, too complex, way too much to go into in order to represent the classes in a way that I would be satisfied with, and I think would satisfy people who play those classes. If I did it, I would probably do roles like tank, healer, ranged physical, DPS, magical DPS, stuff like that, but even then, like, when I make it so broad like that, is it even worth making a guide about it? Another one that was cancelled was Crap Guide to Marvel Heroes. I wanted to do that leading up to Endgame, but, I didn't. Each one would go like a brief little history about the Marvel heroes and their powers and what they do and their character and stuff like that. Those are the ones that I would do, and probably a few more that I forgot or never wrote down or never even made it to pre-production. Who is my favorite red versus blue character? I really like Caboose. I just think he's real funny. I really like Tucker pre-Shizno Paradox because I loved his development in the Chorus trilogy and him growing as a person, and just he was great. Same with Carolina. She's come such a long way when you actually look back at how she was in Project Freelancer. And probably top dog, which might come as no surprise to some people, is Agent Washington. Wash is great, man. It's probably on account that he's like the most normal character of the group, but yeah, he's just cool. It's nice to have a just level-headed person for once, when everyone's crazy and bombastic and angry and pissed or stupid. Having a down-to-earth, chill guy is nice. Oh, Locust is pretty cool too, though. I love Locust. Rock, paper, scissors. I choose scissors. Please say what? Hello, JoCat. I was wondering if you were going to play the Isle of Armor and Crown of Tundra when it releases. Well, they've released now, and I haven't touched the game. I haven't even really touched the game ever since I beat, like, the post-game. What with the 2 dudes with the sword and shield hair. I don't know, I've just not felt compelled to go back to Sword and Shield. I don't know what about it doesn't really grab me like the other Pokemon games. It's not for a lack of Pokemon, because they're slowly adding them all in. I don't know. I don't know what about it. But no, I haven't really touched it. I don't feel compelled to. If I ever do, then I will. Hey Joe, I love your art style and wanted to ask, how did you learn to have such expressive line art? Whenever I go from sketch to line art, I always seem to lose the energy that the sketch had. Oh man, you are experiencing the same problem pretty much every artist who sketches does. It is so difficult to get that same vibe from the sketch over to the line art. One trick that sometimes I use that I stole from my friend Kate is just copying it over and cleaning it up. You know, just copy over the sketch layer over to another layer and just clean it up a little bit by erasing whatever like extra sketch lines and hopefully keep whatever feel as you can, the spirit of the sketch as you can. But as far as art style, I don't know. I just take inspiration from and influence from things that I like. Obviously, I've learned from, you know, real methods of how to draw faces and stuff like that, like learn to draw realistically first. But as far as style goes, it's a combination of Disney, anime, and as I've discovered recently when I tried to imitate it, Bruce Timm art style, funnily enough. Like, I realized I draw faces kind of similarly to Bruce Timm a little bit. But I've been trying to kind of move more towards exaggerated faces and body types because, I don't know, I really like those crazy shapes when a character's like built like a brick. Like, oh, for example, I mentioned Spider-Verse earlier, Kingpin. Like, I really like his design because he's just a big old square. I really like exaggerated designs like that, and I love seeing people do those practices where they'll take a shape, like a random shape, like a trapezoid or a big old oval, and then they'll design a character's face around it. I want to not go as exaggerated as that, but I really appreciate that, and I use it as sort of a basis. I have recently been taking a lot of influence from anime, though, but I want to be a little bit more expressive with how I implement anime, because the kind of one-to-one translation of most anime art styles is kind of reserved and not as expressive as I would like. There's definitely a lot of innovations, though. Plenty of anime art styles are getting very, very expressive and out there with how they style their characters. You look at Promare, you look at Konosuba, Hands Off My Isoken. These anime are they're iterating on the anime, you know, typical art style in ways that really, really make them set apart and get very expressive. And that inspires me really a lot, and I try to do that with in my own direction. And some of my inspiration is not from anything. It's just me just being like, I kind of want to draw noses like this, not because I saw it from any, you know, game or movie or anime or anything like that. I just like how this looks. Do you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? If yes, did you watch The Legend of Korra? And if yes, what is your favorite type of bending? Yeah, recently, actually, I think last month, I binged the entirety of Korra because I never watched it all the way through. I finished book 1 like many years ago and then never really came back to it. But yeah, my favorite bending, I guess I really like air bending, which is funny because when I did like a quiz of like, which kind of bending would I be? People mentioned that I would be an airbender, and I like that. I can roll with being an airbender. I just think it's cool. I like wind as an element aesthetically, and I like how it's like not the most danger. Like it can be devastating, you know, the whole taking air out of a person's lungs is like scary as hell, but you know, it's mostly a very passive element. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage on average. I mean, people are going, oh, well, I'm talking about on average. When compared to the other elements, the you know, potential for collateral damage and devastation that air can do is probably less than most of the other elements. But it's probably mostly out of aesthetically. Aesthetically, air is a cool element to me. Hey Joseph, what would you think if someone hosted a campaign themed around an anime? Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Demon Slayer, etc. I think that would be pretty cool. Go for it. Do you plan to start another Nuzlocke? I just finished watching the VODs and I crave more. Maybe one day, no promises. If 4th Gen ever gets a remake, then very, very likely. If not, maybe in a while, I might do like Return to Platinum, try it again, or do Black and White. Or Black 2 and White 2, as many people like to say that was peak Pokemon. Or maybe even X and Y, just because it's easier as a sort of practice. Would you eventually like to play Among Us with your friends? I have played Among Us a few times. It's a fun time. I'm definitely not as addicted as plenty of other people are. I played a few rounds. I'm like, I get my fill. I'm like, all right. There are other like lying games that I prefer over it, and I guess because I played a bunch of lying games before it, it's lost its magic on me. Whereas for plenty of people, this is their first ever like introduction to lying games. I played things like The Resistance, Coup, Secret Hitler. Yeah, I guess I feel a little hipster when I'm like, ugh, I played lying games before it was cool. But that's probably why I'm not too interested in it. How did you get into graphic design, and were you self-taught, or did you do any programs to teach you to draw? Well, it kind of just stemmed from me wanting to make art in general. I like drawing stuff, and I guess growing up I like to draw things like computer screens, computer icons, buttons. Whenever I would draw on the computer, I would open up Paint and I would draw sprites because I'm just fascinated with them. And really, I guess you can just start with anything. I guess I was self-taught for a long time, but then I went to college for graphic design, and then I'm no longer self-taught and got a professional education in it, so now I know a lot more things than I would have otherwise. If I were to suggest how to start, just do it. You open up Paint, start making buttons, start making UI, start making health bars or windows or icons. Do some stuff. How do you make a more in-depth and nuanced story in D&D? I started DMing this summer and had a really good time, but I felt like it was surface level without much depth. That's a very complicated question with a very complicated answer. I think the main ingredients to making an interesting enough campaign, doesn't have to be crazy interesting, but just interesting enough and make the players feel like enough of their contribution matters, is have a few callbacks to things that they did, maybe affect some NPCs, maybe the NPC returns again and gives them a thanks or joins the final battle, and give the villain a motivation that makes sense. It doesn't have to be a sympathetic motivation, it doesn't have to be a very deep motivation or an original motivation, it just has to be a motivation that makes reasonable enough sense. Let's say you have a villain that really wants to kill everyone in this city, right? Steal from Castlevania. Maybe the people in that city wronged him and like killed his lover or something, and now he knows nothing but hatred and wants to take it out on everybody else. Or what about this person? Let's say there's a greedy pirate captain who wants to steal this treasure from this royal family that is keeping the land alive, and if this magic royal treasure is gone, then it will kill the land or something like that because of magic. Well, why does he want to steal it? Well, maybe because he grew up poor and he rallied together, and his entire crew is made up of former slaves and people who've been taken advantage of, and he's like, you know what? I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of living in this world that it doesn't do anything to help the poor and treats us like lesser citizens. So, well, I'm gonna treat them like lesser citizens. What's yours is mine now. We steal these things. We can take these things. We'll take what we want, just like you take from us. That's the broad strokes of like villains and like NPCs, but like there's so much more that would take me days and days and days of talking and going on about that. I would suggest watching some videos on YouTube. It's a great resource on learning how to do DM stuff. I would highly recommend Matt Colville's series, Running the Game. I love that series, and it's great, and it helped me become a better DM. And other stuff, like how to be a great DM. There's so many videos out there. Favorite superhero movie? That's a tough one. I do like a lot of the Marvel movies. Spider-Verse is definitely up there. I really like Spider-Man Homecoming. I really like Endgame. I really like Thor Ragnarok. It's hard. That's hard, man. That's a hard question. Call me vanilla, but like, I could watch Spider-Verse over and over again. I love that movie. Do you think there are any good D&D-like games? Yes. Divinity Original Sin 2. Even though it doesn't have the rule set, it's got the heart and soul of D&D. You get it, you buy the game, you get 3 friends to make a party together. It's so fun, dude. And I will never stop recommending it. Do you put chips on sandwiches whenever chips are available? Did you create the JoCat persona for the Crap Guide series, or does the persona predate the Crap Guides? Yeah, it was made specifically for the Crap Guides. I created the character at the same time as I created the show and the idea of the show and everything, you know. Thoughts on the new Avengers game? I don't think of the new Avengers game. I'm not interested at all. It has never crossed my mind. It looks pretty, I guess. As far as what it could mean for future superhero games, nothing much. Considering the reception it's got. I don't think future superhero games will be looking to Marvel's Avengers on how to do a superhero game. Anyway, I think that's enough questions for now. Maybe it's a shorter one than usual, but that's all I feel like answering. As I said before, this will no longer be a monthly thing. It'll just be a thing that happens whenever I feel like it. On account that I want it to be for fun, you know, or whenever any major update happens. Stuff like that. Thank you for watching and asking questions. Remember, if you would like your question answered, then comment your question down below, and I will maybe get to it next time. And I will see you then. Bye-bye.